So today we are going to do another playthrough. This time this will be Suburbia. This will also be my first playthrough in English, so please be patient and please be kind if I don't find the right words or if I don't sound too German, but I do my best, I promise. Another problem is this version of Suburbia is also in German, but I think I will try to translate as much as I can, but I think most of the iconography and so on should be more or less similar to the English version here. So let's have a look what's inside the box. It really comes with a lot of nice little cardboard items. So we have, for example, much of this little money here, so this is really nice. You can see it, I think, yeah, so really loads of this stuff. Additionally, there are more or less some of these starting tiles here. So these are the yellow, the industry tiles. Then we have these housing tiles, the starting tiles, the green ones. And then we have some kind of a garden or whatever, park you would call that, to see that here. I come to that later. Then of course the main tiles are the C tiles, so there are basically 3 piles to work with. So these are the last one, the C tiles, then these are the first pile you have to build up, these A tile, and of course in between there is somewhere the B tiles. We have this little booster marks you can do that here. So it's basically some, I think, investment marks should be the best, at least the German word for that, so close to the English one. Some of these wooden tiles to show your stats, basically, so your money, your, call it the fame, not sure what the English expression is for this game, so how famous your little tile is, your city parties, and yeah, this shall be the starting player block. To be honest, I have seen nicer ones, but okay, this will do. Additionally, we have these player boards. These are pretty nice. So good thing is they are two-sided, so you can play either from top to bottom basically, or you can flip these and then you can put it at the beginning of your table and place your tiles inward. I think this is very nice. I think then some space to where you can put your piles. Some, I think speaks for itself. Some place where you can put your money on, and this is basically the market, so I show you this later a little bit. And I think we have additionally some player helps which show you in German what you can do on which side, and some basically some explanation. Very nice. So I think from the quality, this is all really thick hard cardboard. It's really nice. And now I will set up a 2-player game. I will play 2 sides because I'm lacking another person here right now. And yeah, then we see. And I think I will explain the rules as I go, so you get a good insight of the game. Hope you have fun. See you soon. Okay, so we started to set up the board. So we have here the red player. We have here the yellow player. Each player starting with these tiles. So let's see. So everyone gets this suburb, then some park, some recreational area, and some heavy industries. And I think I will explain the iconography a bit later. Then there are these counters. This the circular one, the tubes are the income basically, and the other one is for your favor, so basically for your fame. This more or less then reflects how many inhabitants you will get each round. So this is now positive of 1, so each round we would get another 1 inhabitant to your little area of the city. And this is very important, so both players are playing in the same city, so everyone got only their little part of the city, basically. So that's why how that one little of these tiles can affect the part of the other player, but I come to that later. Additionally, there are these investment markers. Everyone starts with 3 of those. I explain those later as well. And of course some money. Every player starts with 15, I'll call these dollars for the time being, so this is what you start off with. and everyone gets a secret goal for the match. So let's see what the red player has. The red player has to do. This is now the most commercial buildings tiles you have to set up. You can see that here, the little blue. Let's see, yeah, the little blue icon downstairs. And when you fulfill these goals, when you have more of this blue one than the other player, you get 10 additional inhabitants at the end of the game. And the other player, let's see what he has. He's a capitalist. He gets 20 additional inhabitants when he's the player with the least of these. How would you call that? Of this green little, so the suburbs, so where the people live in, basically houses, whatever you would call them for these tiles, the green tiles. Then additionally, I checked that for the 2-player game here, there are 2 common goals, and this is very important. So these can be fulfilled by both players, but only one can have one goal. So it's not possible that both players fulfill the same goal. That's really important. Only the player with the most of these tiles get this. There is one goal is the socialist, so this is the player who has the least of these commercial buildings gets 10 inhabitants. So this is a bit conflicting with this goal here, but there's the same income. So for him, it's basically doesn't matter which goal he fulfilled. So if he got the most or the least, he get 10 inhabitants, which is good. And then the other one is a good goal. It's also a goal is to say you get 20 additional inhabitants when you are the player with the most lakes. I come to that later. The other spots are for 3-player and the 4-player game. Then we have the place for the, let's say, base tiles. I put them here on as well. Didn't see that the first time. So these are the tiles you already have, and there are also 4 additional tiles left of each kind in the game. But after that, that's gone. I come to that later. I put out some money. I have some more in the back, so that's not a problem. There are the 3 tiles. So you see the A tile. Let's see that. Yeah, A tile, B tiles, and the C tiles. The C tiles are a bit different because within I shuffled one little card, so some game ending card in the C tile relatively below. So in 2-player game, you shuffle this tile in I think the last 6 tiles, put that in there. And when you see that tile, you can complete the round, and you have 1 additional complete round at the end after that. So everyone gets definitely enough possibilities to gain enough tiles. So the last thing I forgot to say, this is basically your score chart. So this shows or reflects your inhabitants. So every player starts off with 2 of these inhabitants. This will be explained, I show you that later. This will be explained by this tile. You see this this grayish people person, though the meeple basically on top of that. So this shows you, okay, hey, you have 2 additional inhabitants when you place this little tile. The other tile shows you the folks, though the park here shows you. Let's see, let's get around that I can get a better look at that. So not too. So this -1 in the circle shows you, okay, when you place this tile, you directly get a -1 income to this one, but you get a +1 favor of fame for every adjacent yellow, green or blue tile, which we have here. So the heavy industry. The heavy industry shows the +1 income on the top right. These are the immediate effect values. But you get a -1 fame for each adjacent gray and green building, which is here. And that's the reason why we basically have a fame of 1. So this got adjacent to it a green one, so this one, so it gets 1s for that, and it gets another fame for this yellow one. So we have one positive fame tile. You'll see it here 1, but we have a neutral, so 0 income, because the park costs us -1 and the industry brings us +1. So that's how the starting setup will be explained. Yeah, and I think now we can get started. Okay, one thing we have to do first is now to stock the market. You see this here. I directly start here, so we shuffle that out. So this is a restaurant, a good restaurant, basically a 3-star restaurant, I would call that. I come to that later. The second one is a autobahn, highway, basically what you can buy to your city. Then we have some office buildings we can buy for that one. We have more or less a restaurant, a cheap one, I would call that. Then you have a small airport here. Not the last one. This is a trailer park, so not very expensive one. So some trailer parks for your city. Not sure if you want those. And there is a farm, basically what you can buy here. On top of all these market slots, you see the numbers. So the first two have a 0 value of it, then it goes up. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and $10, and this is what you have to pay when you buy one of those tiles. So you need to pay the let's take this for example, the trailer parks tile. It costs 4, and then you add up the market value basically for that. That's 8. So when you want to have that, you have to pay $12, and then you would get directly 6 more inhabitants, which is good, of course, because this is basically the goal of the only goal of the game is to have as many inhabitants as possible. So in the end, money is really only secondary. Of course, you get some additional inhabitants when you have some money left, but basically you really also, in the end, you need to focus on the inhabitants on your city. So this was the final step of the setup, and I think now the red player can go first and see what he will buy. I think I will start with the office buildings because in the beginning it's relatively important to have some income. So we would pay 11. So again, it's this $9 here plus the $2 of this market slot here. So we pay that right away. So let's see. I take 11, put them here. And then I would bring them somewhere where it brings some good points. So first thing is we have this, let me show you this one. We have this spontaneous effect on the top right. So this is directly +1 income. And then you would get an additional +1 for each adjacent blue building. Of course, right now we don't have any additional blue building, but these effects on the top, on the bottom, will allow you also for later buildings you will buy. So if you would place something here in the under blue building, we would directly get this additional +1 income. So this is good. One thing that really happens, because this park is adjacent to that, and it shows me I get +1 fame for every adjacent blue building. So, and there is another blue building, so I would adjust my my fame basically for my part of the city to 2, and then the next thing I would to do is then to refill the market at this point in time. This is one thing I would do. So let's take another tile. So we move all these to the right. So this is definitely something, though tiles on the market gets cheaper over time, and new tiles always will get the most expensive slot on the market. And this time this is a butchery basically, and this will bring us also some additional benefits when we play with restaurants at the later stage of the game. So one thing we will then do is then we check our income. So first thing we see our income. Our income is +1, so we get an additional $1 here. So right now we will have again, let's see that. So yep, $5 in our pocket, and an additional item we have is we get additional 2 inhabitants to our city. So let's put the red market to the 4th slot here. And in the beginning of the game, it's relatively safe with new inhabitants. It gets a little bit trickier when we cross these thick red lines, but I come to that later because then our income will change. But now it's up to the yellow player and see what he will do. Okay, now it's the turn of the yellow player, and also he decides to get some income. So he decides to buy this fine restaurant here. He would have to pay only $9 because it's on a zero spot, market spot here. So let's pay these $9. Oops, I just killed my whole fame here and my income. I get in return one additional money, so we'll have $6. Then we take this restaurant. We do it more or less basically the same way. So we put it, oops, sorry, let's see that. So we put it next to the park to get the fame effect as well. And what happens now is what you see, we get $3, 3 income, not $3. So the income increases about 3, which is very good. And because it's also adjacent to this park, we get an additional fame. So our part of the city gets more famous when we do stuff like that. What you need to know about this fine restaurant is for each restaurant that is built after this restaurant, you have to reduce the income by 1. And there it doesn't matter if it's in your own part of the city, or if the red player builds some restaurant. This really doesn't matter. It really says -1 income for each new restaurant after this one. So that's why it's a bit for the starting time. It's very easy money. It's not so expensive, and you get really quick money. But in the end, it can get a problem because you lose your income again when you have more and more restaurants in your city. So then let's restock the market. So put everything to the right again, and let's see what we draw now. This is now another thing from the A pile here. So it's something where you put where you build some coins basically. So some governmental stuff, which is very expensive at this point in time. So really $15 for the tile itself, plus $10 for this one. So this is definitely something. So we restock the market, then we do the income. So we have an income of 3, so we get $3 additional dollars. Oops, let's take that, $3. Put that on our pile here. So this is nice. And then of course we also have now a fame of 2, so we also can advance our little marker here for 2 additional inhabitants. So we are doing fine so far. And now it's again the red player's turn. So money is not really something we have too much at this point in time, so we only have $5. And if you can see, of course, we could afford this this Autobahn here because it only costs us $5. So this would be an option, of course. But one thing that you can always do is you can purchase one of these base tiles here. So these more or less cost only between 3 and 4. So especially the heavy industry is something where you can gain relatively quick some income. So it only costs you 3, but gets you directly an additional income of 1. And another thing you can do, all of these tiles here have a backside. When you can see that, let's switch to one of these piles here. And the backside is always a lake. The lakes cost 0. Of course, you still have to pay the amount of the market that's in there. So something you could do, I could flip this one. Then I have to pay 0 for the lake and put it in there. And the good thing about lake is they basically give you directly, not an income, but you can take directly straight away $2 for each of adjacent tiles. And this doesn't matter if it's yellow, gray, green, or these blue commercial tiles. You really get directly every $2 for them. That's really a quick way to gain some money for that one. So definitely something worth to have a look at that. But I think for the time being, the Autobahn is something that we can afford, and something that definitely brings us some income because we can place it relatively nicely. So let's take these $5. Really the last we have. Good thing is the Autobahn, as you can see, is on a 0 market spot. So we put the $5 here. We take the Autobahn and we put it relatively close to the office buildings here, because what it says to me is we get an additional income of 1 per each one. So we get so for once we would get -1 fame for each adjacent green building, but there is no green building adjacent to that, so there is no negative effect. We get +1 income for each adjacent blue building. So here's one blue building, so let's do that. So we have now an income of 2. Then we have to check the other blue building that's adjacent to it, and no, sorry, my mistake. This doesn't bring me any benefit because it only gives you a benefit of 1 for blue building. Of course, this is a yellow building. So we have now additional income of 2, and I think in the next round we definitely have to buy a lake, basically, to get some money in the bank. So then let's fill the market. I believe according to the rules you have to do your income and everything else first before you restock the market, but I think right now for the sake of time it really doesn't matter. So let's see. So that's a little little shop, basically, very cheap one. At least it can be a very cheap one. Only costs you $6, of course, plus you $10, and gives you straight away an income of +1. Can be nice when it's more or less on the right side. So then we see what we can do here. So we have an income of 2, so we get in return $2. Put them back in our account here, basically, and we still have the fame of 2, so we can place our marker on the 6th spot here, and then again it's the yellow player's turn. So this time the yellow player decides definitely to do something for his little city, because as you can see there is another little restaurant, and as we know, once another restaurant is being built, we lose 1 income because of this fine restaurant here. So what we will do, we will flip this over to the lakeside, basically. This costs us now $0, so 0 for the market slot, 0 for the lake, basically. Then we place it somewhere where it definitely brings the most benefit, and it says take $2 for each adjacent yellow, gray, green or blue tile. So we have a blue, we have a gray, and we have a yellow tile. So we can get directly $6 from the bank, put it into our account, which is definitely a good income. Good thing is when we place later on an additional tile to adjacent to the lake, it also gives us an additional $2. So this is definitely good, and we secured ourselves and put 1 restaurant from the market. So this is definitely something the red player cannot choose for the time being. So nothing will change on this board here, because this is more or less only some take effects. So take $2, so there's nothing set that you can adjust the your income. Of course, you also always have to check if there is another tile that maybe brings you some benefits, or maybe also some downsides to that. But it's very early stage, so there is no real effect. So let's restock the market for once. I'm sorry. This is really my first time I film this freehand, basically. It's really something new for me, so hopefully you can project. There's another trailer park. This one moves all along pretty fast onto the right. And again, it's the red player's turn. It's really looking sad. We only have $2, and right now the cheapest one on the market is this regional airport. It costs us $6, and on the base tiles the cheapest one are $3. So there's definitely nothing we can buy here. One thing you always could do is to place an investment marker, but of course also investment markers costs us money, and you always have to pay the same price where the tile would put that. So if you would put the investment tile on this park here, basically you would have to pay additional $4, but the good thing is the effects on this tile is then basically doubled. So it really can bring you some good it can really increase the power of a tile, but as we don't have enough money, we can also not play any little of these investment markers. So I think the only thing we can do at this point in time is do the same what the yellow player did, take us a 0 tile basically. Maybe really doesn't matter right now. Only let's see if we can somehow. No, I think we will just take this regional airport here, put it also close to most of our tiles, so it's basically the same. So again, we get $6 because we have 1, 2, 3 adjacent tiles that do apply, and then we can take 6 little nice dollars, put them into our account, and maybe then in the next round we can do that. Let me see. I think I just forgot to get, of course, the income didn't change for the yellow player, but still he has positive income, so he would get an additional $3. Oh, I totally forgot that, so I'm not trying to cheat here for the red player. So get $3, and of course also his inhabitant status would increase, because this would be now the same that for the red player happens. So also the red player gets his positive income at this point in time. So this is a $2 we will put here. And oops, where do you want to go? And of course also the inhabitants will increase around 2, because it's still here, as you can see, to fame for the city here. So hopefully someone can tell me what the English translation really is for this unit here basically, but I think it should be clear. And I think this was a turn of the red player. We got some money back in our account. We have this Blake. Of course we still need to restock the market, so let's do that. So let's see what we pick here. Another fine restaurant. Okay, so this definitely might be something that the red player later on might consider to buy, when to really, make the life of the yellow player a bit harder, of course. And now, speaking of him, let's see what the yellow player will do. As we really have more than enough money, I think we should really now considering to get some inhabitants to the city. So I'm thinking to buy this trailer park tile, which also only costs us $4, but directly brings you 6 additional inhabitants. So I think this is definitely something I will do. So let's take let's say one more, $4. Put them in the bank. Then we can take the tile. And I think I will put that adjacent to the lake, because then we get an additional $2 back. So this is definitely something good because of the lake. So let's take $2 for this adjacent tile. And we can adjust our inhabitants by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can really drastically increase our inhabitants, as you can see. So we already at 12 here. So, and this was relatively cheap to get that. So of course then the next thing is we would adjust our income again. This time we won't forget. So let's take an additional $3. Let's take a 5 one, because we have some of these single dollar chips here. So, and of course we still can adjust our inhabitants, because we still have a positive fame, which gives us an additional 2 inhabitants. So we are now close to the border of getting to the thick red line, and I explained to that what happens when we cross that. So last thing we need to do in this round is do this little market slot here, or refresh the market. Draw a new tile. Let's see. That's a nice one, because that's more or less a how would you call that in German? That's a very common word. You put that, so it's some homeowners association or something like that. I would call that. And this really brings you $2 for each green tile on the floor. And this really mean for each green tile. So this really does matter for red, what tile the red player or the yellow player played. So this is really a relatively powerful tile. Of course, right now it costs $16, but I think it could be really worth for the yellow player, who has more than enough money to pay for that. So I think this could be worth it. But now it's the turn of the red player again, and I think he should be a little bit more liquid now in respect of money, and let's see what he can do. So I think the red player will purchase the farm here. It costs us 9, and this is more or less, yeah, what we have. So let's pay $9. Put them in the bank, and then we can take the tile. So we also put it close to somewhere here, I guess. So this will... What happens now is the direct effect, so we get a negative fame, so we have to reduce our fame by 1. This is definitely something that will happen, so nothing we can change, but that's not a problem. But we get an income of +1 for each restaurant, and this really means for each restaurant, so not only in our part of the city, but also for restaurant that the yellow players played. So for the time being, we have 1 restaurant in the whole city, which definitely gives us 1 additional income. Let's do that. And as a strategy for the red player will definitely be to get some more restaurant to his city to decrease the fine restaurant of the yellow player. It's definitely, I think, a good strategy to buy this farm here. Additionally, we get some $2 for the adjacent lake, so we get $2 back basically, which is good. So we will have some money left in our account. And I think then this should be it. So let's see what we have for income. So we have a positive income of 3. So let's take another $3 from the bank for income. Put that also in our account. And now we only have 1 fame, but still we are positive. So we get 1 additional inhabitant. So then last thing, of course, for this round, for the turn of the red player, restock the market again. Let's see. Okay, this is now getting away. So this is very nice. This is I see territory basically, and this really gives can boost your lakes, because each lake get an additional +$2 effect. So when you put then lakes to your part of the city, you get then, instead of 2, you get 4 for each adjacent club, so which is really nice. Okay, so this is definitely something we should have a look on that for each of these players, but I think red player cannot really afford it. As you can see, he only has now $6, sorry. But let's give it back to the yellow player and see what he can do. Speaking of the yellow player, let's see what he will do. I think he will take this coin institution basically to cost us $15. Of course, there is no additional market effect on that one, so we have plenty of money left. So let's take the $15, put them in the bank, take the tile here somewhere where it really doesn't matter. So I think we put it just on top of here. It directly increases our income by 3. So 1, 2, 3. We need that for the next step, that's for sure. And we get also another conditional effect which says take $2 per each own gray building. So we have this gray building here which tells for $2, and we have the park here which is another gray building. So we get directly $4 additional back from the bank, so which is definitely good. So let's take it here, give 1 back. So we still have $8, very good transaction basically. I think nothing else happens here at this point in time, so let's see. No, I think all the other tiles are fine for the time being, so it's still time to adjust our little income here. So we get $6 because we still have a positive income. This is always happening first, this is important. So we still have enough money, so I think the yellow player is doing pretty fine. And the next thing what happens right now, we still have a positive fame, so we get 2 additional inhabitants, 1, 2. Now we cross the thick red line, and what this means, it's shown here. What happens in the multiplayer game is each time you cross this line, you get a -1 income and a -1 fame, because your town is getting bigger and bigger. It's not the nice little town anymore, and that's why you have to pay for that. So we decrease this fame here by 1 and the little income by to 5, which is still okay, I guess. So then we restock the market again. So let's see, not really in focus here, I see, not really important. Now we take the last tile from the board, from the ace pile, and of course then we just go ahead with the B tiles. And we got another of these coin institutions, basically. So not very well shuffled, I guess. And I think then again it's the red player's turn, and I think for today I will end my session here. I will load this up to YouTube, and then next time we play on. So hope to see you soon. Bye bye.